Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. First of all, thank you so much for providing such a wonderful response to the end-to-end use case series which we have been covering on the channel. In case you are looking to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the latest updates. In the same series, today I am going to add one more use case. This use case would be related to the banking domain, and the name of the use case is loan processing automation. Let us see what exactly would be the complete agenda for this use case. We are going to start with the problem statement. This time, what I have thought different from the other use cases is that I am going to show you guys two important documents of a project, which is process design document and solution design document, also known as PDD and SDD, so that you guys understand whenever we work on a real-time project, how does the automation start from PDD to SDD and then to development. We do not directly jump to development. We start with PDD, SDD, and then we jump to the development. The same thing I am going to follow in this use case. Post that, I am going to show you one quick snippet that how does the automation look like. And then we are going to create this automation in a step-by-step manner using UiPath Studio. I would be sharing all the resources that include the input files, the source code, and the templates, so that you guys can also follow along with me in a step-by-step manner. And lastly, we will simply execute the solution. Considering the length of the use case, I have thought to divide this video into two parts. In the first part, we would be defining the problem statement. We would be covering the PDD, the SDD, and a sample execution. In the part 2 of the video, we would be doing the development part, where we would start from a template of RE framework and we develop this end-to-end automation there. So I hope the agenda is clear. So let's get started by looking at the problem statement for this use case. Let's say I have a bank where many people are there who are applying for a loan. Now on, let's say, daily or a weekly basis, the bank receive email which is having data of the customers who wanted to apply for the loan. Now there is a person in the loan department who is actually going through the email and validating whether that attachment which the application or the email has are valid or not valid. Is the data inside the application is proper, not proper? Is it following the bank standards? Is it following the loan requirement? What is the yearly income? What is the loan amount they are expecting? And all the details he is validating one by one. For all the valid records from that Excel or the CSV, whichever he finds that yes, these are all the valid, he passed it to a different department where they actually feed all these data into the system and they grant the loan, or in other term they generate something which is called a loan ID, right? So this is the overall problem statement which we are going to address today in this use case. Talking about the bank, I would be using this bank which is called UiBank. The URL for the bank is uibank.uipath.com, and this is the email which we are receiving on the daily basis, like 26th of 11, 27, 28th, we are receiving email which is having the data for loan processing data, and each of the email has something which is called an attachments. If I download this attachment, you would notice that I am getting the customer name, email address, credit card type, occupation, amount, loan amount, for how much tenure they are using, and all the details of the customer we are getting as an input. Now, for some of the record, you would notice that the email address is blank. That means the details are missing and we cannot process the loan. For here, we are seeing that the age is blank. Somewhere the loan amount is blank, right? So it's not possible for it to process. So that is where they have to manually validate. If all the details are available, then we would need to consider what are the banking rules to give the loan. So that is where the robot run and it will actually process the loan application. Now to process the loan application, the banking guys are going to this website, UI Bank, and in here they have a section which is called apply for a loan. Click on this and it will take you to a new page of the loan of the bank. You simply have to click here which says apply for a loan. You have to provide all the details, what is the loan term. If you notice here, as of now the bank is providing only for 1, 3, 5 and 10, and I am getting request for 9, 13 as well, right? So all of these should be rejected, right? Once you fill all these details and you click submit, the loan will get processed and you will get something which is called a loan ID. Now as the output, the expected is that for all these records, if the record is valid and it satisfies all the criteria, we need to have the loan ID available for each of the record. So that is the manual process and that is the problem statement what we are going to address today. Now before directly jumping to the PDD and the SDD of the solution, let's have a quick lookup on the robot, that how does the robot work and what is the final outcome, so that you guys get interested in building the use case. I'll quickly go back to my email and I can see that I have received the emails for 26, 27 and I have email for 28 as well, right? So business folder is blank. I have the email available. Run the file. Initializing the settings, that means config has read, killing was done. As you can see, edge is gone now. I have got the credentials for the email. So now the robot would be going and reading the emails and validating. So total emails were 4. We have got the folder for 2811. The folder exists, which means that it was able to download and we have got 100 records here, right? The next thing, it opened the application, UI Bank application in the bottom. Now the robot has started the processing. It has started doing the validations. In the bottom, the Excel is flashing, right? That means that the status is getting updated back to the Excel. For the valid records, the robot is filling up the loan application. Wherever the record is not valid, the status would be updated back, and wherever the application is valid, it's simply filling this thing, okay? Generated the loan ID. Let's quickly go back to the output and validate. I hit a quick refresh. So this is our loan data.csv. So as you can see here, the robot has updated this Excel with this column, which is column N, which we have instructed, and it is showing me status. So let's quickly validate. So I'll go here and I'll just check for email address, let's say. And as you can see, for all of them, the email address was missing. So that's why it says email address is blank. The same applies to, let's say, I go and validate for the yearly income. So yearly income was blank. So it has got this. Now the banker do not have to worry that what has went wrong, right? It can directly come here and validate and they can see this report. For the valid one, how do I know the valid ones? I can do a select all and you can just remove the business validations. Hit OK, right? So for all these records where you are seeing this ID, right? These are the records where all data was available. I'll just put some, and it was satisfying the business criteria as well. Okay, so let's start by looking at the process definition document, also known as the PDD. So whenever we start any development process, the first thing is we would have a PDD, which is typically created by the business analyst. Now a business analyst will draft all the details in the PDD and then it will land into the automation. We will create solution design document and then actually we shift towards the development. Okay, so let's quickly have a quick walkthrough that how does the PDD look like and what are the different details which are available. Okay, so if I further scroll down to the document, I could see that the automation name is loan application processing. There is a small bit detail about that what is the being application used. So UI Bank is an application which is being used to do this loan operation. It talks about that what are the functionalities. I can see that they are dealing with the debt products, they are dealing with the financial harms, they are doing something with the expense, right? So as of now I can relate that yes, this is something in the financial area, and the bank or the application which we are using is the UI bank. Okay, let's further scroll down and see what we have got. So this is the table of content, that what exactly is included in the PDD. Now depending on the type of the company you are working or type of automation you have, this format might look a little bit different, but more or less the content of the PDD would be the same thing. Okay, so quickly I will go through, scroll this, that what exactly is the PDD and what all details are included and what exactly we can make out of it. Okay, the first section in the document is called the purpose of the document, simply meaning that why we are reading this document. So it clearly says that we have a business process which has been chosen to be automated by UiPath robotic process automation technology, and this is something which is the detail which is available about the business use case, right? That why exactly the business want to automate that. So reading that I can sense that yes, this is and something where the bank is trying to give loan to people depending on some of the criterias, right? So this section particularly will have details about the process. Okay, what exactly is the objective? The second section talks about when you are doing this automation, what you are trying to achieve. Every automation in UiPath has some objective, right? It can be cost benefit, it can be FTE saving, it can be reducing of the processing time, it can be to have a better monitoring, better let's say execution capability, anything. So if I talk about this automation, the PDD says that we wanted to do this automation because we simply want to reduce the processing time by 80%. We want to have a better monitoring capability, and that would be provided by the robot logs, right? Makes sense, right? So this is the objective. As a developer, now I understand that I have a UI bank application that is dealing with some loan kind of thing, and they wanted to reduce the processing time and have some monitoring capability as well. Okay, the next section is the process key contact, which means that in order to understand more about the process, the automation process, the manual process, if I have some doubt in this document, or if I want to get some more additional information, get some file, whom should I contact to? So basically these are the people who are expert in this area, also known as the subject matter expert or the process owner. Now the process owner is expected to review this document and provide the sign off, which means that this document says that the process owner is Mukesh Kala, which means that whichever detail is available in this document, first of all Mukesh Kala should provide you the sign off saying that yes, the document is accurate, this is what we are doing, and this is what we are expecting from the automation, right? So you would have something who is called a process owner, and then you would have something who is called a subject matter expert, who understand in and out of this process, right? So SME for me is John and the process owner is Mukesh. We would have the contact detail, phone number, everything in the PDD. Now if I further scroll down, there is a section which talk about minimum prerequisites for an automation. If I have to develop this automation, what are the things we require? It says that you require a field process design document, a complete process design document, test data to support the development, because you cannot give the live data to the development, right? So you need to have test data or some replica of the data to start the development. You need to have the user accesses, creation of the user account for the license, permission, restriction, accounts, robots, all the accesses which are required to run the robot should be available. We should have the input Excel available, meaning the process is running on some input Excel that should be available, and some email, right? So these are the prerequisites which are required to run this automation. That again might change depending on the kind of automation you are working with. The next section is about the as is process description, and it has something which is called process overview, right? And this is a pretty important section for me to get all the information, such as I can see that the process full name is loan application processing. It is related to the banking domain, and in the banking I am dealing with the loan department. It has a short description about the process. Now what is the role required for performing the process is the loan officer, right? Which means that if you go to a bank may have different roles, different responsibilities, right? Different people having different privileges. So if I have to, or if the robot has to perform this automation, which role or which access would be required? So that is an access of the loan officer. Process schedule and frequency, how do you want to run the process once it is deployed, right? So as I can see that it is an unattended process, so the process schedule and the frequency would be weekly, and weekly we are expecting around 100 to 300 items to process, right? So that means if the person is doing this manually, they are dealing with close to 100 to 300 transaction on a weekly basis, right? Process execution time, that how much time does it take for the human to do this, right? This is the as is thing. So it says that 15 minutes per transaction. So if I have to evaluate the overall time, if it is 300 records, so that would be 300 into 15 minutes for one transaction. Peak period. Peak period simply means that at what point of the time your volume is more, right? Or the volume is less. So you say that 100 to 300. So I can say that when I am at the last working day of the month, as per the banking rules, I get more transactions, right? So the peak period for me is last working day of the month. Transaction volume increases to 250 plus. Then it also talks about number of FTE supporting this activity, which means that how many full-time employees are currently doing this automation. So as of now, the UI bank tells me that they have 3 employees who are working on weekly basis, doing approximately close to 300 transaction, spending this much per transaction to do this process, right? And then level of the exception rate, what would be the input data? That would be an email and a CSV file. The output data would be an Excel and a summary email, right? So this gives me a good overview of the process, that what we are going to do. So that was about the as is process. Depending on your automation, we always can add more details or remove the details which are not necessary. Fine. Let's move forward again. Moving forward, I can see now the next thing, it talks about what are the applications which are going to be used in this automation. So it tells me that you have to use Microsoft Edge, and it has given me the build number. You have to use Microsoft Excel, and it has given me the build number as well, right? The version number or the build number is very important whenever we take the requirement. Now the reason for that is that, let's say I am using Microsoft Edge, and that calls for a UI automation, selector based automation, right? If I am using 107 version, and let's say my development machine has some old or some latest version, chances are there that my selector might be different and the bank selector might be different. So in case the versions are not matching, you will land up a situation where the automation work with the developer and it does not work in the client machine, right? And then we always say that it is working on my machine and it's not working on your machine, right? That does not work. That happens because the application versions might mismatch. So at the starting of the automation, make sure you have the same version of the application, and that you can take a sign off as well, right? Then it is a thick client, thin client, what kind of access you want to have. I want to have a read write access. So all these details would be available in this block. The next important bit in the PDD is the as is map, which means that how is the business doing this process manually? Without automation, how does this thing happen, right? So they have given me this diagram. They say that we start, we read a loan email which is received, we download the attachment, we save the Excel at some location, right? This we can understand that an email is received, they download the attachment, save the Excel, then they open the UI bank, which is a browser based because browser was involved. They enter the loan details. The UI bank, I guess, is expected to give you a loan ID. That loan ID has to be put back to the Excel. and this Excel I guess is the same Excel here, and then once everything is done, you send a confirmation email and you stop. So this is at a high level what this automation is supposed to do. Now we are not designing the solution, we are just trying to understand that what exactly we have the requirement, right? So this at a very high level, it's called the high level or the as is process map. Next, in the PDD, it has given me some of the process statistics, that total 3 processes are involved, 5 window action, 48 mouse clicks, 28. And this diagram, whatever you are looking on the screen, this is all the statistics. Everything is created by a tool which is called task capture. Okay, so task capture is an application which is used to actually draft the process design document, right? So detailed statistics is available, that loan application, how many clicks you did, in the loan CSB, how many clicks, all this detailed information is available here. And the next thing in the PDD would be that how you have to perform the operation. You would have a screenshot wise step by step defined, right? So it says that open the email, download and save the attachment, right? So you have to go to an email, download and save the attachment, right click and save. Okay, then you have to open that Excel, and what else? If I just scroll down, it says that your Excel will have this kind of data. You have to click on first data, you have to do a Control+C, and let me just quickly scroll it down. So we have to copy the data, and then we have to open this UI bank application, which is this guy. We have to fill up all these details, Control+C, Control+V. So this PDD has all the details. If you guys go and follow this manually, I would be able to perform the same operation, right? And it has given me all those details. With the PDD, usually you get all the set of the input files as well. Okay, so let me just scroll down. Yeah, so till this point they have given me all the details that what needed to be do in the automation, right? I have read through this complete document and I understand what needs to be done. So this is the CSV which we get as an input in the email. That is what it is mentioned in the PDD, that you will have all these details: title, name, address, credit card type, credit card number, age, occupation. All these details you would get in an email as an attachment, and you have to apply for the loan for all of these candidates, right? Now I don't know whether this data is correct, not correct, whether they are eligible, not eligible. The PDD also told me that about the UI bank application. So I got the URL, and this is how the UI bank application look like. This has the field like email address, the loan amount requested, loan term, what is your current yearly income before the taxes, what is the age, and when you click on submit, it actually gives you the loan ID which needs to be appended here, right? So all these details I got from this document, and now I pretty much understand what exactly we need to do in the automation, right? We would get an email, we download this, we fill up all these details, and once we generate the loan ID, we have to put the mail ID back here, the loan ID back here. Okay, if I further go to the process design document, it gives me something else, that what is in scope of RPA and what is not in scope of RPA, that what are the things that the robot should do. The robot should receive the email sent from the business team. Okay, the robot should download the email attachment which would have the email details, read the CSV file, open the UI bank, key in the data, right, generate the loan ID, revert the loan ID, email sent back to the business, right? To the same mail ID where you receive these details, you have to revert back with the loan ID, correct? So these are the things which I can understand from the PDD. What are the other things? Out scope of RPA, there are the things which we would mention that which typically RPA would not be able to perform. Okay, you have to always think from the business point of view whenever we are doing with automation, right? So as your business analyst would have done his job, so he would also, the business analyst would also tell you that what are the business exception that you need to handle while coding this automation, right? So I can see that there are some of the condition which we need to take care. The first one is no email. Simply means if I do not get an email, you need to send a business exception. If you get an email but it do not have an attachment, then also you need to generate a business exception. You get a CSV in the email, but the CSV is blank. Can happen, right? So then also you need to generate a business exception. It has also given me some condition that loan term should be 1, 3, 5 and 10 only, right? So if I go to my input Excel, yes, so there is something which is called loan term, and I can see that there are something 14, 11, 3, 7, 12. But my process document says that you need to generate the loan only if the loan term is 1, 3, 5 and 10. That means the bot should not generate and not apply for all the loans where it is some different value apart from this, right? So all things we need to consider when we are designing the solution. The next condition, it says that the age should not be less than 18 months, right? We have an age column here. So it says that you need to give to loan to the people whose age is greater than 18, right? The last condition says the loan amount should be less than 3 times of the yearly income, right? So these are the 3 conditions which we need to take care when we are actually handling or creating this automation, that the loan amount should be less than 3 times of the yearly income, right? So if I am looking for a loan of, let's say, 1 lakh, I should have a yearly income of, let's say, 40,000. Then only I will be eligible for a 1 lakh loan, because 3 of my yearly salary, that is 3 into 40,000, will give me 1,20,000. That would be more than the loan amount, right? So these are the conditions which we need to take care when we are designing the solution, right? So this detail would be also given to you when you get the business requirement, right? So these are all the things which you need to take care when you design it, right? The next section talks about known exceptions. What are the known exceptions in this process, right? Some of the known exception could be browser not responding. You have the UI bank which is working on the browser and suddenly it start responding. Restart the browser. Email not sent or received. This complete automation is working on an email, but let's say you receive this complete automation work on the concept of email, but let's say I do not have the email available with me, right? So what should I do? I can contact to the info@mail server team. Office is not installed. I need Excel, I need email, I need Outlook, but let's say my Office is not installed on the computer. I need to contact to the admin team, and this is my admin email ID. Browser extension missing. What it simply means that UI bank is opening in browser, right? To interact with the UiPath, you would always require the UiPath plugin. One fine day you go to the machine and you find that the browser extension is missing. What you need to do? You need to contact to the uipath.admin.manage, right? So these are all the details which the process design document would have with the proper contact details and everything, right? Depending on the kind of automation and the thing you are using, you would have more details available here, right? What happens when the application crashes, what kind of error messages, unknown error, unknown exception, all those details would be available in this document, right? Where should you write transaction logs, error logs, each and every detail would be available in the process design document, right? So we have walked through the process design document, and I hope now you understand that what exactly does the automation require, what are the things we need to take care of, right? So once you are finalized with the PDD, you have the sign of PDD from the business. The next document which you would like to prepare is called the solution design document, right? That brings us to the end of the process design document. So I hope with me you are also able to understand that what exactly is the process, what we have to develop, for whom we are developing the process, what are the business exception scenarios, what are the things we need to take care, right? So see you in the next section where we will be discussing about the solution design document. Okay, so now that we have understood the process design document and what needs to be done in the automation, the next step is to create the solution design document, which typically is created by the solution architect, the senior developer, and the developer. The solution design document would be having the things related to the development. It would be having the overall architecture, that how we are going to design the solution, what are the things we need to take care of, how would the exception be handled, typically the flow chart of the development, and the other details, right? So let's quickly walk through the SDD for this process, which is called the loan application processing. So this is the table of content which is available. Let me quickly scroll to the down and see what we have got in the document. The first thing is that what exactly is the purpose. So the focus of the solution architect was on increasing the robustness, scalability, efficiency, replaceability, code reusability, right? And this talks about a little bit about the UI bank application. If I further move down to the SDD, I can see that the robot type is unattended, the orchestrator used is yes, scalable is yes, the UiPath version used is 2022.10, right? So now if you notice here, the difference from the PDD and the SDD is that the SDD is having more technical details which are close to the development, or I would say to the developer. Okay. Architectural structure of the master project, right? So this is the high level diagram that what exactly the automation is going to do. If you notice here, it's say that start by reading the email. If the email is received, you validate the attachment. If the email is not received, you raise a business exception and stop the process, right? Once you validate the attachment, if the attachment is valid, you say download and save the attachment, otherwise you raise a business exception. Same thing, you download, save the attachment, open the first sheet, read all the records one by one, you validate if the data is available, you do the business validation. So remember, we total have 3 conditions which we need to validate. If any of those conditions fail, we simply raise a business exception. If all the data is available, it satisfies all the criteria, we go to the open UI bank application, which is in the browser, key in all the data, get the loan ID, populate the Excel, and we stop the process, right? So this is a high level diagram of what exactly we need to do in this automation. Okay, and this indicates that these are the operation which we are going to perform in the browser. Furthermore, in the SDD, we have these details which are available, that what exactly is the production environment. It is running on the Windows virtual machine. Prerequisite to run would be an input email with an CSV file attached that is having all the loan details, right? Input data is a one valid CSV and a UI bank application. The expected output for the process is one email with the loan numbers. How do you start the automation process? It will be scheduled from the orchestrator. For the reporting purpose, we are going to use the orchestrator logs. Do we use queues, Kibana, or any other platform? It's not applicable. Now the question arises, how is the orchestrator used? So we are using it to schedule from the orchestrator. We can use assets, right? So you can specify the details here. Any password policy you need to maintain can be specified. Orchestrator logs would be mentioning the compliances. Credentials, where exactly you want to store the credential, we are going to use orchestrator. Naming convention, everything. What is the schedule details? We are going to schedule it at weekly 6 a.m. CET, right? So this, now you notice, in difference to the PDD, which was more close to the business requirement, this document is more close to the developer. How do you schedule? How do you manage the exception? At what time you want to schedule it? What would be the input? What would be the output? How is the orchestrator used? Where is the orchestrator? All these details would be typically part of your solution design document, right? If I further move the document, you would notice that it tells me about the description, the environment prerequisite, that I require a Windows 10, I require a UiPath Assistant, I require a license, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Edge. To store the code, I am using GitHub. I am using configs and the asset to store the configurable things, right? How many reusable components I have made? Are there any new reusable components? So all these information would be part of your SDD. The same document also you can mention that are there any future improvements which you want to have in the process, any other remarks which you need to have, and all the details which are technically important would be a part of the solution design document, right? So that was the PDD and the SDD for this use case which we are going to build. Okay, so I hope you guys are following along with me and we have all understood what exactly is the SDD for this use case. If that is the case, I want you to type SDD in the comment box so that I understand that we all are on the same page. In the next part of this video, I would be coding the entire solution for this by a step-by-step manner. And don't worry about the files, the PDD, the SDD, and all the relevant documents. I would share it to you once we complete the end-to-end implementation. So for that, you would have to stick to the channel. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so that as soon as I upload the next video, you get a immediate notification. So I would like to wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel and happy automation.